Hi everyone. In today's video, I will be taking you through the common mistakes that I've seen people make year after year during the CAT preparation, and also the steps you can take to avoid these mistakes. We'll start off with each of the individual sections, and then we'll come to the overall preparation. Let's get started. So let's start off with the VRC section. And here, if we take a look at the first mistake that people make, which is the biggest mistake, that is a delayed start to building a reading habit. Now, we all know that reading experience is very important in the VRC section. In fact, not just for this section, but also for DILR, also for quant. Because during the entirety of the CAT exam, you have to read a lot in each and every section. But of course, it's especially important for the VRC section. Now, if you want to become good at reading, it takes quite a bit of time. You can't become good at reading just by reading for a few weeks or a few months. Okay, so whatever time you have remaining for the CAT preparation, it is important that you read consistently for the entire duration of that time period. So what you should do if you're starting your preparation from today is you should start reading from today itself. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but from today itself, so that you have the highest possible chance of building a solid reading experience. Now, of course, it's difficult to start anything new. So what you should do is start small and increase gradually. Don't start off with a very high target. It's not like you have to start off by reading a book every week or something like that. Just start very small. Maybe just start off with reading a newspaper every day. That itself will get you used to reading. And once after a few weeks you are used to reading daily, you can start reading articles, you can start reading books. But what is more important here is to be consistent, so that over the next few months, all the way up till your CAT preparation, you become very, very comfortable with reading. Now, if we come to the next mistake that people make in their VRC preparation, that is reading only within the comfort zone. So what happens is that science students might only end up reading science articles, literature students might only end up reading fiction, and that will not really help much in the CAT. Because in the CAT, you can get articles, you can get passages from various topics. You can get philosophical articles also, you can get sociological articles also. So it's important to be comfortable with each and every area. So what can we do to tackle this mistake that people make? Now, the first thing that you should do is start reading Aeon essays to cover a wide variety of topics, and read randomly. When you open the Aeon essay website, you will see that articles are presented randomly from a wide variety of topics. So just click on the first article that you see, whatever it is, read it on that day. Next day, again, look at whatever is the first article that catches your eye, read it. Okay, so don't discriminate between topics. At the beginning, of course, it will be difficult whenever you are reading something new. But once you get used to this, it will add a lot of value in your CAT preparation. Because as you start solving the previous year questions, you will see that many times a passage might be from a topic that is somewhat difficult or confusing, but the questions can be easy. So you will only be able to maximize your score if you're comfortable reading each and every kind of topic. Now, one more thing that you can do here is solve RCs regularly. Now, this is something you should be doing anyway, but if you're solving RCs consistently, like at least one RC every day, then you will be covering all the different types of topics within the RCs themselves. And if we come to the last common mistake that people make in their VRC preparation, that is the mistake of not focusing on option elimination. So what people think is that if there is a question, there are 4 options, we should select the best option. Now that will work for the easy questions, where the best option will be very obvious. But for the moderate questions or the difficult questions, no option might seem like a good option. Or maybe 2 options might seem good, and it might be very difficult to decide between them. So here what works very well is to focus on option elimination, where instead of looking for the best option, you're trying to eliminate the 3 worst options. And then whichever one is remaining, that is the one that you will mark. Now, how do we eliminate options? How do we get used to that? So the step you should take here is to spend a lot of time with the solutions. People, what they normally do, the beginner's mistake is that they look at whether they've got the question right or wrong. They just glance at the solution and they move on. And they don't really learn anything, and they might end up making the same mistake again and again. But once you start spending time with the solutions, you will get an idea about what kind of logic we can use to eliminate options. So when you're spending time with the solutions, focus on the reasons used to eliminate the incorrect options, which will of course be mentioned in whatever text solution or video solution you are watching. Now that we've looked at the 3 common mistakes that people normally make in VRC preparation, let's come to the DILR section. So the first common mistake in DILR is to focus on only one area, DI or LR. So people who come from a maths background might focus more on DI. People who don't come from a maths background, who come from a non-engineering background, they might focus more on LR. Now the problem with this is you never know what will be tested more in the CAT. In some years, we've seen that there is more of DI. In some years, we've seen that there is more of LR. It cannot be predicted. So you have to be equally comfortable or fairly comfortable with both of these areas. Now, what should you do to remedy this mistake? The first thing that you can do is solve one DI set and one LR set every day. Now, at the beginning of your preparation, this is good enough. Make this a habit. Once you are used to this, then suppose if DI is your weaker area, then you can start solving 2 DI sets and 1 LR set every day. Okay, but this is very, very important to have a chance of doing well in the DILR section of the CAT. The next common mistake that people make in their DILR preparation is a lack of test taking. So people think that if I just keep practicing, I will keep getting better. And that is true. That is partially true. But you will get better at solving questions when there is no pressure. But you might still find it difficult to perform well in the exam when the time is very limited and you're anxious about your performance. So what you should start doing is you should start taking a lot of tests. For every topic, once you complete the practice exercise, take the benchmarking test which is there in your IMS portal. And focus on identifying the easy sets. Okay, this set selection is very important. So at the beginning, of course, with limited experience, you'll find it difficult. But as you keep practicing, and keep developing experience with different types of sets, you will become better at identifying what might be the easier sets for you. Even after you take every test, spend some time analyzing. Look at the sets which you find easy then, and think about how you could have understood that these sets might be the easier sets during the limited time of the exam. The third common mistake that people make in their DILR preparation is just watching video solutions. Now, the problem with this is that if you just watch the solutions, you will become good at watching solutions, but you won't become good at solving the questions yourself. Now, of course, you have to watch the solutions because at the beginning of your preparation, there will be many sets that you can't solve. As I keep saying, English and maths is something that we all have some experience with. English and maths is something we all learn in school to some extent. But DILR might be a completely new section for most people. So here there will be definitely a lot of questions that you can't solve at the beginning of the preparation, and you will be referring to the video solution, of course, but you shouldn't just stop there. Okay, so after you watch any video solution, make sure that you solve the same set yourself as well. Put pen to paper, go through the deductions yourself, go through the logic yourself, do the calculations yourself, make the table yourself. And this kind of practical experience is what will enable you to solve the same kind of set in an exam environment. Now that we've looked at the 3 common mistakes in DILR preparation, let's finally come to the last section, which is the quant section. So in QA preparation, the first common mistake, and this is a very big mistake, is that people end up skipping areas or topics. Now, of course, the reason is that people have their weaknesses. Some people find, let's say, geometry difficult. Some people find modern maths difficult. So because of that, they might end up skipping an entire area, or they might end up skipping some individual topics that they find difficult. Now see, the problem with this is that in the CAT, you never know which areas you will get the easy questions from. If you end up skipping geometry, for example, and there are 2 easy questions from geometry in the exam, then you will be at a considerable disadvantage because you will not be able to get those easy marks. And this matters a lot, especially in a difficult paper, where every easy question becomes very, very important in order to get a good percentile. Okay, so of course, make sure that you are not skipping any topic. Okay, even if you find it difficult, you cannot skip it if you want to do well in the CAT. And the way to deal with this is to revise. Revision is the key here. See, anything that you find difficult, you will of course find it difficult if you just do it once. But if you do it a second time, you will start finding it a bit less difficult. And if you do it a third time, you might even start finding it easy. Okay, so anything that you find difficult, do it over and over again until you start feeling comfortable with it. And see, if you still find it very difficult, then you have to reduce your target. Like you don't have to focus on becoming an expert at it, but at least make sure that you revise till the point where you're confident about solving the easy questions. That will ensure that you at least don't miss out on any easy question in the exam. And the next mistake that people make in their QA preparation is solving new or difficult questions only once, which again brings us back to revision. Because see, anything that is new or anything that you find difficult, If you just solve it once, you might understand at that time, but after 1 month or 2 months, if you come across a similar question, you might not be able to solve. Because anything that is difficult, it takes time to become better at, and not just time, it takes repeated practice to become better at. So anything that is new or difficult, don't just solve it once, solve it again immediately. Don't even wait for 1 week or 1 month to pass. If you're solving a new question right now and it takes you some time or you have to watch the video solution, after that, solve it one more time immediately or even 2 more times immediately until you are very, very confident about it. And one more thing you can use here is the revise with AI feature in your IMS portal. So of course, this will not be there for all questions, but it will be there for a good number of questions. So whenever you come across a question which is different, which is difficult, after solving that question again, come to the revise with AI feature where you will get similar questions to practice, and that will help you become good at all the new types of questions that you will encounter. Now, the next mistake in QA preparation is a lack of revision of concepts. So see, this is again revision. So you can see the importance of revision in the QA section. So of course, you will come across a lot of different types of concepts. There are so many areas: arithmetic, algebra, geometry, modern maths, and within each area, there are so many topics. And within each topic, there are so many formulas, so many concepts. So if you do anything once, if you just do all of these concepts once, you will get confused and you will keep forgetting them. So you have to keep revising. Now, what you can do is, if you're an IMS student, after completing every module, revise all the concepts within that module. So after you complete module 1, just go through all the topics again, go through all the concepts again, and go through the logic, go through the formula so that you familiarize yourself with them better. You become much more used to them. And also make sure that you are solving a few questions again from every topic. All the questions that you found new or difficult the first time, solve them again when you are revising, because it's not just about knowing the formula or the concept. You also have to be comfortable with the application part where you're applying that formula or concept to solve the question. So now that we've taken a look at each of the individual sections, let's end with 5 common mistakes that people make overall in their preparation. So the first common mistake overall is that people think that just attending classes will be enough. If I just attend the class, if I understand what is being taught in the class, that will be enough to do well, even if not very well. Now that is a mistake, of course, because when you attend the classes, you become good at attending the classes. You don't become good at solving the questions yourself or performing well in a test yourself. Okay, so make sure that you are practicing as well. After every topic is completed, make sure that you solve the practice exercise for that topic, where you will have to put your brain to use, where you will have to actually try things out yourself without relying on the solution that is presented immediately in the class. And after you solve the practice exercise, make sure that you take the benchmarking test for that topic to test yourself. Okay, do this for each and every topic of each and every section. Remember, it is never enough just to attend the class or just to watch a video solution. The next common mistake that is made overall is not focusing on weak sections. See, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. An English student might find quant or DI difficult. An engineering student might find VRC difficult. Now, people tend to stick within their comfort zone. So the problem with that is, of course, that in the CAT, you have to make sure that you clear the sectional cutoffs for the top colleges. So you have to make sure that you're not ignoring your weak section. So here, make sure that you're spending time with every section every week. If you have a lot of time to prepare, do this every day. Like for example, if you can give 6 hours to preparation every day, give 2 hours to each and every section. If you can give 4 hours to preparation every day, give 2 hours to your weaker section, 1 hour to each of your other sections. But make sure that you're spending time with each and every section every week, if not every day. And after that, of course, as I've said, give more time to your weak sections. So it shouldn't just be equal. It shouldn't just be 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours if one section is very weak and the other sections are still okay. So if, for example, if you're giving 6 hours to your preparation every day and one section, let's say VRC is very weak, then you might, what might be a good idea is to give 3 hours to VRC, 1.5 hours to DILR, 1.5 hours to quant. And in that 3 hours of VRC, you can give 1 hour to reading or 1.5 hours to reading and the remaining time to solving RCs and VA questions. Now, the next common mistake that people make overall is not taking mocks until syllabus completion. See, the reasoning that people have is that how can I take a test if I'm not completely prepared, if I have not completed the syllabus? The problem with that is that if you wait until you complete the syllabus, you won't have enough time to get better at taking mocks, to performing well in the exam. So don't wait that long. Whenever the mocks start, and the SIMCAT season start in April. So whenever the mocks start, take every mock during the test taking window. Even if you are not done with the syllabus, even if you are done with half or less than half of your syllabus. Because see, the benefit that you'll get is you will start becoming comfortable within the test taking environment, with handling that exam pressure, with reducing your anxiety during the test, with selecting the easy questions. So start with the mock, start with the SIMCATs whenever they begin, which will be approximately in April. And as I said, focus on identifying easy questions from the topics you have completed until that time. Let's say you've just completed arithmetic and algebra until that time. So just focus on identifying easy questions from arithmetic and algebra in the SIMCATs when you start. And as you keep completing more and more topics, then those areas will also open up during the test. Now, of course, for VRC and DILR, you barely have any formulas. So VRC and DILR are open, where you can approach them logically. So there, of course, you definitely don't have to wait until syllabus completion. And for quant, I would say if you are done with at least arithmetic and algebra, you will be in a very good position to start taking the mocks. Okay, so don't delay this. This is something very, very important in order to perform well on the day of the test. Now, if we come to the next common mistake that people make in their overall preparation, that is not analyzing mocks thoroughly. So a lot of people do take mocks, but they just end up taking the mocks and not focusing on understanding what mistakes they are making and how they can improve their performance. And that is why they see that although they are taking mocks, their results are not really improving significantly. So here what you should do is, every single mock that you take, make sure that you spend at least 1 hour analyzing each section. Now, 1 hour is just the minimum. For your weaker section, you should be spending around 2 hours until you feel confident about it. And how should you analyze? So very briefly, of course, you'll be looking at what mistakes you made. You'll be focusing on learning from your mistakes. But you should also be looking at time management. You should be analyzing which questions you wasted too much time on. And you should also be identifying your weaker areas. You should be looking at questions which you couldn't solve, especially the easy questions. So apart from time management, focus on the difficulty level and see which easy questions you couldn't solve, which difficult questions you wasted too much time on. And the easy questions you couldn't solve, of course, those will be your weak areas that you will know that you have to revise or get more practice with. Now, of course, as I said, you will be able to identify areas of improvement when you analyze the mocks. And the keyword here is, of course, improvement. Without analyzing, you will not know what you have to improve and how to improve. Okay, so mock analysis is very, very important to push up your scores and percentiles. Now, the last mistake that I'll be talking about is not managing expectations. Now, this is a very big mistake, and this is a mistake that is rarely spoken about. So, see, why is this important? It's important because when we start off with anything new, we start off with a lot of hopes, a lot of dreams, and a lot of expectations. We might think that, okay, if we practice a lot, we will improve consistently. Now, what happens is that improvement is not linear. It's not like if you practice one day that you will improve a little bit, second day you will improve another little bit, and you will keep improving each and every day. Sometimes what will actually happen is that sometimes you will not even feel like you are improving. You might practice for a week, and in that week at the beginning of your preparation, you might not be able to solve more than half of the questions. And that is when you will start getting a bit demotivated, that I'm practicing, but I'm not seeing that improvement. So this is where managing expectations is very important. Keep in mind that it takes time to become good at anything. You might not become good at reading if you are just reading for 1 week or 1 month. It might take many months. You might not become good at identifying the easy sets for maybe 3-4 months or maybe 6 months. You might not become good at solving easy questions from each and every quant topic until a lot of time has passed. Okay, so manage your expectations. It will take time to become good at anything new. So here what you should do is start with low targets. Okay, so for example, here if you want to become good at reading, start, as I said, start small, start with a newspaper every day. Once you are getting used to that, then move on to Aeon essays. Once you are used to that, you can start reading books. So when you start with small targets, the pressure that you put on yourself is low. And then even if you don't see very significant improvement initially, at least your target is low. And you will still be able to meet that target. And you will at least get that sense of completion that, okay, I had a target, I'm achieving that target, so I am progressing in that sense. And make sure that you're focused on consistent preparation. Focus on the process more than on the result. Now, of course, this is easy to say but difficult to apply. But this is what you should be telling yourself every day. So instead of thinking that, okay, I took a test last week, I took a test this week, I have not seen an improvement. That will, of course, make you feel bad. What you should instead focus your mind on is that I took a test last week also, and I took a test this week also. Whereas there will be students who might have taken a test last week, and after that they would have gotten demotivated and they would have given up. They would not have taken a test this week. So in that sense, you are getting a competitive advantage. Showing up is very important. You come to your study table, you sit down and you spend time on preparation. Whether you see an improvement or marks or not in the short term doesn't matter. In the long term, you will see an improvement if you're focusing on preparing each and every day. Okay, so start with low expectations and have faith in the process. See, anything that you are good at in life as of this point, think about it. How are you good at that? Whether it is some sport, whether it is cooking, anything at all. You are good at it because you've been doing it for a while and you've done it again and again. And you were not good at it immediately. It took time. So it's the same thing for CAT preparation. So you will definitely improve, and you can improve a lot also as long as you keep doing it each and every day consistently over a long period of time without really focusing on the results at the beginning. Okay, so this is all I wanted to talk about with respect to the mistakes that you have to be careful about and the steps you have to take to avoid these mistakes. Please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section if you found the video helpful. And if you have any question, feel free to ask in the comment section. Bye, everyone.